All right, if you're leaving this in, you have to leave my rant in about the crackheads.
No, I'm probably going to take all of this out, but we should say the goodbye part so it doesn't just cut right before we're like, we should cut this out. We're about to say a bunch of really bad shit, and then it just cuts to black. People will be like, what the f***? Celes is, in my opinion, it hasn't even been released yet, but it's been spoiled. But I think it has the potential to be the best Mardu option in the cEDH format. I think it's that good.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take over the Mardu breach spot for like Dihada, because Dihada kind of had like a big spike in popularity, and then you still see her around. She's good still. But Celes is less all in on the breach strategy, but way more versatile and has so many layered combos. And we're going to go over all of that today. Yeah, Trevor, why don't you read Celes for us?
Well, before we do that, Ian, are you aware that Final Fantasy Tactics is the best game of all time?
I have been aware of that. You've told me many times. That's the only reason I know. Otherwise, I would have had no idea. I would have said it was Dark Souls.
From Final Fantasy 6. Dark Souls is a good one, but, you know, Tactics, that's where it's at.
I didn't know that, but since you told me, now I'm aware. I've been playing the wrong game.
Yeah. Celes is not from Final Fantasy Tactics. She's from Final Fantasy 6. But regardless. So, yeah, Celes is a Mardu commander. We've already discussed that. It's a 4-drop. Human Wizard Knight. 4/4. When Celes enters, discard any number of cards and then draw that many cards +1. So she kind of lets you wheel, which is very useful. And kind of, we'll discuss a few cards that, like, can go in the deck, and I think you should play, and some cards that I don't think you really need to play because of this ability, like Necropotence.
Yep, we'll go over that for sure.
Then her second ability, whenever one or more other creatures you control enter, if one of them, or one or more of them entered from the graveyard or was cast from a graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Now, she has, what, like the opposite ability as like Yawgmoth? I guess?
Yeah, so
or kind
of. So basically, that second ability directly feeds into Persist combos. So creatures that have Persist, which just pull up the
like
first one.
Goblin.
So the Persist ability reads, when this creature dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. So usually that ability is, if the creature dies, so if it didn't have a -1/-1 counter on it, it'll come back with that. So it kind of has like one more life, essentially, is kind of the idea behind it. But with Celes, since it does hit the graveyard and then come back, she will see it and her ability will trigger, and it'll essentially counteract the -1/-1 counter by putting a +1/+1 counter. So Putrid Goblin, for instance, which is 1 and a black and a 2/2 with Persist, it will, if you have a sack outlet or it dies, it will infinitely, you can have it keep coming back because it'll never see that it had the -1/-1 counter on it, so it'll just always come back. So obviously there's a ton of combos you can do with that. Something that's not in the decks, but is like a common, effect for this is something like Blood Artist. Every time the Putrid Goblin were to die, you do a damage to target opponent and you gain a life. So something like that. There's so many other better cards than that. that are available. So we're going to go over those, but that's just kind of like a nice common one that everyone knows, Blood Artist. So that's why I used it. So her ability works just great with Persist. It's just a combo piece in the command zone, but that pseudo wheel kind of effect where it's only you and you can control it. You don't have to discard your whole hand. You can keep a crucial piece, let's say like Reanimate, discard the rest of your hand, draw a bunch, reanimate something, that comes back. There's so many lines in this deck that are possible that you can run, and we will go over all of them. And we might even miss a few. So if there's any strategies or combo lines that people think of, let us know. But Persist is the main one. And then I think the other second most common and obvious one to include is Underworld Breach. Let's look at this. Is we each actually built the deck, but Trevor, go over that a little bit. What's the Breach package looking like?
I'm not running. Let me run down. So I'm not running any usual Breach combos. So I don't have an LED or grinding station. I've got Breach right here, and as you can see, 3 animate dead effects. But I am running a Stitcher's Supplier and Calling the Weak. Nice. So you can essentially you can just loop that Stitcher's Supplier when it enters the battlefield or dies. You mill 3 cards from the top of your library. That lets you use Breach, so you can cast Stitcher's Supplier and then cast Calling the Weak, essentially netting you, what is it, like 2 mana each time you do it?
You'll net 2 black mana, and then since it's always milling 3 cards when it enters and dies, you'll always have the 3 cards in order to feed the Breach cost of the escape cost. So it obviously is way better if you have more cards in your graveyard, so you don't have to just keep exiling the ones that you just put in, because you might hit a good piece. But if you have 4 or 5 other cards ready to go in your graveyard, you can start exiling the ones you don't need. You'll end up with a large amount of black mana and hopefully some combo pieces that you can assemble after that point. But it's a great include. Stitcher Suppliers also, I have it in my list. I have this combo in my list. Actually, hop over to mine because mine actually does have a little bit more of the traditional Breach stuff. I even included Warren Soul Trader as well. A friend of mine mentioned that. They're like, oh, if you already have Stitcher Supplier in the Calling the Weak line, you can have this as well. So you just pay a life, sacrifice another creature. So you sacrifice the Stitcher Supplier, and you create a treasure token. So then you can always use the treasure token to pay for the Stitcher Supplier. And in this loop, you end up netting 3 cards. You don't net any mana, but you net 3 cards in your graveyard every time because you don't have to cast the Calling the Weak from the graveyard. The Warren Soul Trader is just on the battlefield. It's also a decent sack outlet as well. What did it say? It's what?
This is just random. Moxfield has decided that your deck is bracket 5 and my deck's at bracket 4, which is hilarious.
Really? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I
and you're
set
also
that?
running Mayhem Devil.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there's just so many good cards and we're gonna try and cover it all in a organized manner, but we might jump around a bit because so many of these cards work in other situations. So for example, the Warren Soul Trader is great for the breach line with Stitcher Supplier, but it's also great as a sack outlet with your persist creatures. Now, you can't do it infinitely because you have to pay the life at each time, but you can hopefully run into a different combo. If you sacrifice the creature enough time and accumulate enough treasure tokens, let's say you accumulate 6 and you're pinging everyone and you pay 6 life, well, you can sacrifice Celes as the 6th trigger and then just recast her, wheel your hand, and hopefully dig for more combo pieces. So you'll always feel like you're presenting wins. I've played this deck a few times, maybe like 4 or 5 times, and every time I felt like I was just always presenting a win. We played last night, and I realized I fucked up. I didn't realize I had the Voice of Victory in hand. We were playing on Cockatrice, it's really tiny. And I was just playing on my tiny laptop. I didn't have it on my monitor. So I didn't realize I had Voice of Victory in hand. So I casted Breach and it got countered. And then I'm like, fuck, I had Voice of Victory in hand, which I guess someone had a Force of Will. So that would have gotten countered, but I don't know if there was a second counter spell. So I might have been able to just play the Breach anyways and go off from there. I don't know. It might have gotten stopped anyways, but I felt like every turn I had a possible win. Aside from the first couple turns.
Before we get into it, I'm going to pop back over to my list. We should talk about the Persist creature package that we run.
Oh, yeah. Let's finish off the Persist, and then I'll do a couple more things with Breach, but yeah, go over all the Persist creatures.
So Putrid Goblin, we already said, is just your generic Persist creature. This one I think is the worst out of all of them because it's harder to get out on the field. It doesn't really help you win. Let me phrase it this way: you need another piece with it to help you win rather than just having a sack outlet. And there's Lesser Masticore, which is an artifact creature. And I think this one's a little bit better than a Putrid Goblin because I run Goblin Engineer. So I can just get Lesser Masticore out that way. It also, you can search it with Enlightened Tutor.
I just realized, I was just thinking, Enlightened Tutor, but I didn't even realize, you have Goblin Engineer in yours. And at the end, we'll compare our decks. And just to preface this, Trevor's is a little bit more of the mid-range combo, and mine is the Turbo Ad Naus. I had initially had a shitload of stuff. I had the Hoarding Broodlord and things like that in there, but I wanted to test out the Turbo Ad Naus strategy. So I took out some of those higher CMC spells, and we'll compare the list. And I think both strategies are totally viable. I actually am leaning more towards the taking out Ad Nauseam, including some of the bigger things. I'm still going to be going for the super fast turbo strategy. I just won't include Ad Naus, but for the sake of this, I didn't want to touch my die. I wanted to leave it as the Ad Naus strategy for sake of comparison. But yes, continue.
Okay. Your other Persist creature, we've got Murder's Redcap, which when it comes into play, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player, and then has Persist, obviously. So this one's your finisher. All you need is Celes, a sack outlet, and Murderous Redcap, and then you can win the game off of that. Which is nice.
You don't have to have a damage dealer. Now, another thing to make note is a lot of the sack outlets can do damage. So, for example, I have Goblin Bombardment in my list, so it doesn't matter. I don't need the Murderous Redcap. I can just have the Putrid Goblin, and I can sack it with the Goblin Bombardment to deal damage to everyone that way. So that's still a 3-card combo. But if you don't have a sack outlet, if you have something like Viscera, that's just sacrificing. It is nice that you can scry, and you can infinitely scry until you get something on top, and then, wheel Celes or try and draw a card somehow. That works too.
Let's talk about that, because there's actually a little interaction that I like, which is if you have a Persist creature out and Viscera, before you cast Celes, you can cast Celes, have her trigger on the stack, and then just start scrying over and over and over again until you get the card you want. And then you can draw off of Celes.
Nice. I didn't realize that. I didn't think of that. So you have the Persist creature and Viscera already out. So let's say you have Viscera and Putrid Goblin. And actually, specifically, I wanted to have this available. Where's the library? Oh. View all. Okay.
Come on,
so you have the... I'm used to it being off to the side. There's those buttons on the side. Okay. So you have these on the battlefield, and you cast Celes.
You cast Celes. So Celes trigger on the stack.
ETBs.
The wheel trigger's on the stack.
Yeah.
So then, in response to that, you can start sacrificing the Putrid Goblin, because Celes is on the field at this point.
Yeah.
So the Putrid Goblin will go into your graveyard, re-enter with a -1/-1, and a +1/+1, so they counteract each other. And then you just start scrying. Ooh, ephemera.
And that I might actually keep that, because that's a really nice one to keep on the top. We'll go over all these types of effects as well. So I'd say, okay, I do want to keep that on top. Celes triggers, we'll discard a bunch of these cards. I'm just going to pick, so I'm not thinking about it. I'm just discarding random ones. You probably wouldn't discard the Demonic Tutor, but a lot of times you're like, I don't give a fuck. I discarded 4 cards. I'd rather draw 5. 3, 4, 5. And then you have an extra mana. You ephemerate Celes. She leaves ETBs. Discard again. Again, you can do the scry thing in response and make sure, okay, I don't want that. I don't want that. Yeah, I do want Gamble. Let's keep the Gamble on top and put this on the bottom. And then we discarded, however many. You draw a bunch more, and then you gamble for Breach, and our graveyard's loaded up. So, yeah, I mean, those types of plays, she's very much, especially in the early game, when you don't have a definitive combo. Well, actually, at this point, you'd probably just gamble for some sort of... Breach might be the safer outlet, but you might gamble for the damage-dealing sack outlet instead, depending on how much mana you have.
I actually noticed in my list that Breach is more of a secondary win condition. Like, I never try and go for Breach. It's more of like, oh, I have Breach in hand, and I have a Stitcher Supplier. I could just get the fucking Culling the Weak or whatever, and then try and win off of that. But it's never a... I just have it in the deck because if you're running red, you should run Breach, more than likely.
Well, and her ability feeds into it so well.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to have a massive graveyard, so you're able to, even if you don't have the combo, you can cast a Breach for value, really.
And exactly. But we all know how Breach works. Even if you don't have a 100% guaranteed line, you'll just shit out a win. You'll kind of just stumble into oopsies. I just won. I definitely leaned more into the Breach. Go ahead.
There's one more Persist creature that I run in my list, which is Kithkin's Spellduster. Now, this is one that I think is, honestly, it's a cute little combo, but I don't think it really fits in the deck. It works because it's a Persist creature, but it reads, it's got flying, persist, and then if you pay 2, you can sacrifice it, destroy target enchantment. So with Celes out, you can just pay into it a bunch and get rid of everyone's Ristic Studies or their Breach or, whatever. So I think it's 5
CMC is a little high, but with the amount of reanimate effects There's a whole reanimation package in this. So, I mean, yeah, we're trying to keep it, organized in the things that we talk about, but you can't not mention that, oh, yeah, you could just reanimate this. This is going to be hard to stay organized. But yeah, and let's go over the sack outlets really quick. And the other thing that's nice about the sack outlets, specifically feeding into the Persist combo, is you can also use them to sack your Celes in order to either reanimate her or recast her and get more value that way. So almost every single combo or strategy has some sort of double purpose in the deck, which makes it so efficient. You're always being proactive and moving forward.
Let's see. So we already discussed Viscerous here as a sack outlet.
Another one, I took it out of mine, but Skirk Prospector, it only works with the 2 goblins, but it's 1 red for a goblin that has sacrifice a goblin, add red to your mana pool. So you can just 2 out of your 3 Persist creatures. I mean, I guess with the Kithkin Spellduster, that's a 4th for Trevor's deck, but I just run the other 3. But 2/3 of them, the only thing is Lesser Masticore is so much easier to cast and tutor for that I'd rather have Goblin Bombardment than there was other sack outlets that I liked better, but it is an include. You can include Skirk Prospector. And you get infinite red mana too.
I've opted out of Goblin Bombardment because I felt like there was better options, like Blasting Station's 1.
Yep, that's one that deals the damage.
Deals 1 damage. And then untap it. And then Altar of Dementia. So you can sacrifice a creature. Target player puts a number of cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power on top of his or her library into the graveyard. So I have those in place of Goblin Bombardment.
You can mill everyone else out or yourself into Breach. I have both of those, Blasting Station and Altar. They're easy to... The colorless mana is easier to cast because I have Grim Monolith and Mana Vault. So just having all that, extra colorless mana makes those additional things easier to cast. As you can see, I have LED. I've leaned a little bit more into Breach. I would say that coming out of the gate, I am trying to cast Celes, hopefully turn 2. What you want is something like those opening plays like land, Soul Ring into Arcane Signet, or land, Chromox, Arcane or Talisman. Next turn you play your land, your second land, and you have the 2 ramp pieces. Like I am really trying to get, or maybe a ritual, like a Rite of Flame or something. I'm really trying to get Celes out turn 2, sometimes turn 3. I would say it's split between there. You want to get her out as fast as possible and get that going. And I want to hit a possible reanimation or a sacrifice or a flicker effect off of my initial wheel. And then from there, you kind of load up your graveyard. And if you can tutor, if you hit a Enlightened Tutor, you tutor up Breach to the top and hopefully sacrifice her or get her trigger again, or do it on the end step in the next turn, cast Breach, hopefully with a protected effect like a Grand Abolisher or a Voice of Victory, Ranger Captain, something like that, and just win from there. I mean, Breach is I usually Breach and then I end up either stumbling into a Persist combo and assembling that or some sort of other line. But Breach is the goal, I would say, in my list. Ad Naus, it is Ad Naus friendly and it is in the deck, but I'm not necessarily... I have other decks that run ad nauseam that are like, that is the goal. I am trying to tutor up and cast ad nauseam. That is not necessarily the case. That is secondary. I'm more so interested in casting Celes, getting her triggers, and getting breach as fast as possible. But if I have an opening hand that has, a Viscera, a Culling the Weak, and, an Imperial Seal, I'm like, okay, I can for sure tutor ad nause to the top of my library and cast it turn 2. Hell yeah, I'm going to do that.
I also love that you're running Praetor's Grasp and Tainted Pact in your list.
Oh, 100%.
I'm not, because I wanted a little bit more reliable shit, but you might as well run those cards if
especially in a turbo ad nause deck.
Yeah.
And they're both good on their own. I've just Tainted Pacted a little bit into my deck. It's just another black tutor, is kind of how I look at it, where at the very least I might be able to just dig a little bit and until I hit my breach. I'm not going to Tainted Pact and exile half my library, but sometimes you just need I just need a sack outlet or a flicker effect. So I'll just Tainted Pact until I get one. Maybe on the end step, I have 3 mana up. I Tainted Pact until I hit, an Ephemerate. Okay, hell yeah. Ephemerate on the end step, wheel my hand. And then on the upkeep, Ephemerate has Rebound and I get another trigger. So you don't have to specifically go for the Thassa's Oracle win, but it is there. It's available.
Yeah. Let's see. And you got Warren Skull Trader, Viscera Seer. Yeah. One sack outlet that you're not running, which I am, is Razaketh, which essentially, if you don't know, pay 2 life, sacrifice another creature, search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, shuffle. Essentially, if you have Celes and a Persist creature out, you can play Razaketh, and then you can just win on the spot there, because you can sacrifice your Persist creature as many times as you can pay life into it, and you can get your combo pieces, which would, you can get your Breach, you can get an Animate Dead for Abdel Adrian. You can do,
if you're out of mana, you can even just tutor up all your 0-drop mana rocks if you needed to. And you can pay so much life. You could tutor up 6 cards and pay 12 life. And you can get that going early, because if you have, I'm assuming you run Entomb, you could Entomb it, reanimate it.
Yeah.
You have your Celes and your Persist creatures, and you can just start going off.
Yeah, obviously we're running Entomb. This is a reanimator deck on top of being a interesting combo deck. Because do we want to move into the necromancy lines or are we still talking? Is there anything else you want to talk about, Breach?
No, I think Breach is pretty self-explanatory. We might mention things that work well with it as they come up. Persist is pretty self-explanatory. I was going to say let's go over the next best thing. And we kind of talked about ad nauseam. Let's really quickly mention that Necropotence is not in the deck. I think it because of her, it doesn't synergize with her ability, Celeste's ability. It's actually anti-synergy. You end up exiling those cards, and it's anti-synergy with Breach. And those are the 2 best things about the deck, I think, are her wheel ability and the Breach lines. And Necropotence actively hurts those. And if you're in blue, where you could bounce your Breach or something, I would say, hell yeah, and you have Born Upon the Wind and Valley Flood Caller. You don't have any instant speed enablers other than maybe Emergent Zone, which I don't think I run. I don't think it's worth it. I tested it out, and I hated it every time I got it.
I am running Emergent Zone.
I might consider running it, but
I think it's just in there because it's nice to have.
But what I wanted to talk about is the the next best combo that I think everyone should include, which will kind of feed into the reanimator aspect, but Abdel Adrian, I think and this is really nice because the Abdel Adrian combos work and synergize with Celes, and they also work independently. So if for some reason Celes gets gilded draked, or she's been killed a bunch of times, or there's a Draneth, you are totally fine. So Abdel Adrian, Gorian's Ward, reads 4 and a white for a legendary creature, human warrior. It's a 4/4. And it reads, when Abdel Adrian, Gorian's Ward, enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you control until Abdel Adrian leaves the battlefield. Create a 1/1 white soldier creature token for each permanent exiled this way. So, if you don't know, Abdel Adrian is similar to the Leonin Relic Warder with Animate Dead, Necromancy, and Dance of the Dead, where... and we'll scroll down to that. So what you do is you get Abdel Adrian into the graveyard, and you cast Animate Dead. You take the creature from the graveyard, it gets reanimated, and then Abdel Adrian's ETB happens, and you target the Animate Dead. So Animate Dead leaves the battlefield. Because of that, you have to then sacrifice Abdel Adrian. Since Abdel Adrian left the battlefield, the Animate Dead re-enters and targets the Abdel Adrian. So you can infinitely, reanimate, kill, sacrifice Abdel Adrian infinite number of times. But if you have something else on the battlefield, like a Mayhem Devil, that will ping everyone to death. If you have a Orcish Bowmasters, since you can exile any number of other non-land permanents, you can include an Orcish Bowmaster in the exile, flicker effect, and it will, every time it ETBs, you'll ping everyone to death. So, and you don't need Celes whatsoever. But if you do have Celes on the battlefield, then you can infinitely wheel, not infinitely, but, you can wheel through your deck until you get your combo or something that, okay, I hit my Mayhem Devil. Now I can, get the combo going again. Maybe you reanimate something else, but you hit a Mayhem Devil and a, what am I thinking? Like a Dance of the Dead or a Necromancer. You hit the other version of the combo. So then you start the combo over again, but now you have your Orcish Bowmasters or Mayhem Devil out. So works with the commander, works without it. I think it's an auto include. It'd be crazy not to.
Now, you keep mentioning Mayhem Devil. Don't know if anyone's noticed, but I'm not actually running your Mayhem Devil because I've opted into Molten Gatekeeper instead, which Molten Gatekeeper, when another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Molten Gatekeeper deals 1 damage to each opponent, and then it has an unearth effect for 1. So, you can... I like this one in particular because it works a lot better with Celes, because you can discard it to Celes, draw your additional card, and you kind of want it in the graveyard because it's cheaper to get onto the battlefield. So, but you've opted into both of them, so
yeah, I wanted many.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I wanted as many of those effects as possible. I figured Mayhem Devil it works with a little bit more combo. Well, I guess not necessarily, because Molten Gatekeeper works with just entering. It doesn't have to be sacrificed. Whereas Mayhem Devil is only sacrifice triggers. But yeah, Mayhem Devil. Here's another thing. This is outside of this deck. This doesn't necessarily work with this, but I guess it would work with something like Lotho. So I was playing a game with the Blight Club, actually, and we were someone was playing Prosper, and they had Mayhem Devil and a shitload of treasures, and it was like they they were holding the rest of the table hostage, including Magda. Magda got completely screwed by that because they're like, man, if I do anything, you'll just ping my entire board. Yeah, no, it was like, oh shit, Mayhem Devil is really good at just saying, hey, don't do anything. I'm here.
Don't you do it.
It's kind of like along the lines of Orcish Bowmasters, but with anti-treasure and or other sacrifice stuff. So you got to be careful. You don't want your Mayhem Devil getting stolen. That is really bad.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to mention that because it's like you see it once in a while, but man, is it a really good card, and it sucks if someone else has it. But going back to Abdel Adrian, so those combos are available, but the nicest thing about it is all of those reanimation effects, if you hop over back to Trevor's list, he has Hoarding Broodlord and Razaketh and some of these bigger targets. Even Kithkin, I think you just have more creatures in general. So it just works as a reanimator deck too. You're going to be dumping your library into the graveyard with Celes's effects, and you're bound to hit one of those reanimation effects and a good creature. I mean, yeah. Which I guess could go into the Hoarding Broodlord type lines. So
I think Hoarding Broodlord's pretty self-explanatory in this list because you reanimate your Hoarding Broodlord. You go fetch a Saw in Half. You cast your Saw in Half, targeting your Hoarding Broodlord. Now you have 2 Hoarding Broodlord triggers. You can go get Murderous Redcap and Viscera Seer.
Oh, yeah. Boom. There you go.
Boom.
Or there's any other or you could get your Breach and your LED. You could get or even if you didn't want to, there's more. What's weird is I left it in the deck because I had Hoarding Broodlord initially and I was testing it, but I wanted to do Ad Nauseam. But you could get Saw in Half, and then you can get what is it? Burnt Offering, I think. Which
I noticed you had that in your list.
It's like, okay, there we go. So it's 1 black instant. Sacrifice a creature to add that creature's casting cost in any combination of red and or black mana to your mana pool. So you could get something like this and something else. You could even get Ad Nauseam if you wanted to. I mean, I don't think you'd run both of those, but you could search for Burnt Offering and Razaketh, Burnt Offering one of the Broodlords, and add, 8 black mana in order to cast the Razaketh. I mean, there's just infinite amounts of things you can do. I think, honestly, specifically Hoarding Broodlord and Razaketh are the reason I'm considering swapping Ad Nauseam out and putting those back in. Just because, like I said, I'm more so going for a Turbo Breach plan, and if I happen to hit Ad Nauseam, great. But because it feels more secondary, it doesn't actually feel as necessary to include in the deck. So I think I will end up taking out Ad Nauseam in favor of putting both of those back. But the reason I left Burnt Offering in is I use it sometimes to sacrifice Celes, and I just add 2 red, 2 black, and then I'll just cast her again. Yeah. Or I'll with 2 more mana.
Another thing about the Saw in Half that's nice about Saw in Half is you can target Celes with Saw in Half, and then you get 2 additional Celes triggers. And then that's actually kind of why I've opted out of doing Ad Nauseam, is because Celes does a very good job at just drawing you a bunch of cards, where Ad Nauseam's kind of redundant in the deck, in my opinion. go ahead and run it because it's a great card. But I think Celes on her own doesn't really need it. I think you can. There's tons of way of copying Celes and getting that trigger, so you can just sculpt your hand. So,
yeah, absolutely. I will say that if you do cast Ad Nauseam, it is a very Ad Naus friendly deck. There's certain ones that, even if they're really low to the ground, even if you draw a shitload of cards, sometimes it's harder to piece together the finish. But in this one, because so many of the combos are layered, you almost always, even if you don't have a great Ad Nauseam, where you're like, man, I didn't get to dig as deep as I wanted. I kind of ran into some higher CMC stuff back to back, which screwed me over. You'll still almost always get a win off of it because even if you get an assorted combo pieces, it doesn't matter. You'll be able to piece together the win because it's so synergistic. So I do think the Ad Naus variant is just as viable. I think it's probably the slightly more mid-range one, especially in our current meta, might be a little better. Just for that reason. So yeah, I think right now, I would probably swap out Ad Nauseam and Hoarding Broodlord and Razaketh in, and I'd need to take out one more card. I'm not quite sure what that would be yet. Oh, Lively Dirge. We can get into some tech cards towards the end, but this is a great one. This is a Reanimate and Entomb all in one card. Yeah, you have to spend
nice.
you have to spend 5 in order to get it, but yeah, you can put any card in the graveyard. So you could put something else. I'm trying to think. You could put like your Savines in the graveyard, but then you could return 2 creatures. Cast the Savines from your graveyard to bring back your Breach if it got. I've had that happen where I've lost my. I think Trevor, when we were testing out, we were playing 1v1, which isn't indicative of the format in general and like a 4-player game, but it is good for practicing. Combos and things like that, you're less likely to get interacted with, so it's easier to run through your lines. But I feel like I had multiple turns where I was attempting to breach. I think you stopped me, and then I did some. I don't think I was Lively Dirge, but I got Savines into the graveyard and cast it to bring back Breach and LED, and then you were able to destroy it again because you were playing Tivit, so you had a million fucking cards in hand, and you were just countering everything I did. But it was still like, holy shit,
as
you can just
is tradition.
Keep going, as is tradition. But man, I mean, you can just keep pushing for wins in this deck. And that's why I have all the Infernal Plunge. I'll Infernal Plunge my Celes just to get 3 extra mana, and then Reanimator, and then I have 3, red to play with. And I hit a Jessica's Will off of her draw triggers, or I hit a Gamble. Let me gamble for Breach, and then I have the 2 extra mana to cast it. And there we go. I mean, that's why getting Celes out as fast as possible. And hopefully not dumping your entire hand, because that's happened before where I've rushed her out too fast and I'm like, I only have 1 card left in hand. So discarding and drawing 2 is not bad, but it's like, it would have been better if I had, 3 cards in hand and I drew 4. But that's why if you can double her trigger in any way, we talked about Saw in Half, but Molten Duplication and Twin Flame do the same thing. You cast that, targeting your Celes. You have the hasty copy that enters, essentially. You have that one die to the legendary rule, so that way your original Celes stays out. And you get a free, or a 2-mana Celes trigger. But both of these synergize with Dualcaster Mage, which is another great include in this deck. Just because of all the cards that are a 2-card instant win combo with Dualcaster Mage, like Saw in Half, Twin Flame, Molten Duplication, which result in infinite haste, Dualcaster Mages, and you go to combat and kill everyone. So I guess it's not an instant win, but basically it's a 2-card combo. All of those cards are great in the deck because the Saw in Half, the Twin Flame, the Molten Duplication all get you additional Celes triggers. And in a pinch,
and the Ephemerate. The Ephemerate
and
also,
the Ephemerate. Oh, that's right.
Dualcaster.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Because, yeah. Or Cloud Shift, right? Does that actually work? Pornhub? What?
Again.
It does work.
Yeah.
Now, they won't have haste, though.
Yeah, but you get infinite ETBs, LTBs, infinite...
Oh, and if you have something like Molten Gatekeeper.
Molten Gatekeeper. You can ping everyone to death. So, these cards, they have a dual function in the deck. You can target your Celes, get additional draws, or they combo with Dualcaster Mage.
I didn't even think about that. I mean, dude, almost every single thing in the deck has dual purpose.
Yeah. I was also trying to build the deck. Yeah, I was trying to build the deck in the way so that, like you said, everything had dual purpose. Nothing was put in because it had one little thing that it did. It was more of I need something that can work with Celes, but also is a combo piece in itself. So, it's kind of why I left Hoarding Broodlord in, because I was like, I'm going to be running Saw in Half. I might as well run Hoarding Broodlord.
I know. That's why this deck was hard to cut down. I felt like I ended up with, 140 cards, and I'm like, that I all wanted to put in, and I'm like, man, I really have to start narrowing it down because there are so many. And I noticed you have other stuff. You have Imperial Recruiter and Recruiter of the Guard, which
can fetch Murderous Redcap.
Yep. And the other, or Putrid Goblin or Lesser Masticore, right? I think they can all grab all of them. Yep. And the other thing you could do...
Kithkin? No.
The Recruiter can't get the Kithkin Spellduster, but who cares? You have 3 other targets. You could also, if you had something like Saw in Half, you can Saw in Half the Imperial Recruiter to grab... like an Orcish Bowmasters, and then or is Mayhem Devil? Is that low enough? I think it's a 3/3 actually.
I think it's a 3/3. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say you might be able to grab, the sack outlet. Let's just say you already had you do that and you get your, I don't know, Putrid Goblin, but then you Saw in Half or Twin Flame it and get the Molten Gatekeeper or whatever, or like a sack outlet like Viscera or something. So there's just so many layered, intricate things that you can be doing. I mean, the deck is just... it's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's a hell of a time. Hold up, am I running... We'll do a comparison later of our 2 decks, but...
Yeah, one other thing I did want to mention, I did test it out, Bolas' Citadel, and then I was like, well, I might as well, and this was the non-ad nauseam variant, and I put Sensei's Divining Top in. It just didn't synergize as well with the deck. It was nice being able to dig through, but I do. A lot of Mardu lists will run Bolas of Citadel, and I think it's a great card. It just didn't feel as synergistic with the rest of the deck. So I think the Necropotence and Bolas of Citadel there's so many other things that have dual purposes, like we've been saying. So I think keep those out. It doesn't necessarily, it's not a bad thing to include it, but I don't think it is as crucial or synergistic with the deck. I did also I have a friend that is also in the Blake Club. I wanted to go. Oh, this would be your connections. Can I go to my?
Yeah, if you go to following.
Oh, perfect. Get on that. And
Anti-deck.
Anti-deck.
That bastard.
I think. So this person is incredibly good at building unique variants of things. So let's just see. And it's nice that they have, they're really good with the tags. So they have it labeled out as Plan A. So they are, all in on the Abdel Adrian combo. So they are trying to get Abdel Adrian in the graveyard, reanimate it with Celes on the battlefield in order to draw through their deck. Plan B is actually Persist, which is interesting because I would say that's more likely our Plan A.
Plan A, yeah.
But this is interesting. I control this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on negates haste. So this is like a backup if Celes isn't available. You just cast this, and it's a pseudo Persist combo for the turn. That's interesting. I wonder, could you do that? Oh, you could do that instant speed. So that would be interesting. You have something like a Murderous Redcap and a Vasir on the battlefield, and someone thinks, oh, okay, well, they Gilded Drake or Drannith Magistrate's out. They can't do their combo. They're not worried about it. You cast this at instant speed, and you start the loop, and you just win. That's interesting. I'm sure there's other functions with it, but I like the fact that it doesn't have as much double function, but it is a nice instant speed win. That's worth considering. Okay, Breach. They have the whole Breach package. I opted out of Grinding Station.
Dual caster.
So dual caster. I just felt like I've never really liked Grinding Station. It's like there's so many other things you could be doing with Breach, and this card is just dead. If you're not casting Breach or it's not in play, it's like Grinding Station kind of sucks. It's just kind of like a do nothing card. Not saying it's a bad. I'm not saying this is a bad include for this, but like I've just every time I've ever casted Grinding Station, I just can't get it to work for me. I'm like, dude, there's a million other combos. I also saw they had this in there, Bitter Ordeal, which is search target player's library for a card and remove that card from the game. Then that player shuffles his or her library. Gravestorm. When you play the spell, copy it for each permanent put into a graveyard this turn. So you could essentially, infinitely, recur something from the graveyard and then cast this, and every player's library gets exiled.
Very nice.
So, interesting include there.
I can fuck with that.
I can fuck with that. Outlets for Plan B. They have
Wheel of Misfortune. Why is he playing this trash?
Probably because they just want as many wheels as possible. You know what? I did actually. This is another thing worth mentioning. I didn't I had the One Ring initially in my list, but I'm like, you know what? Celeste just draws so many cards, and there's so many other ways, and especially when I was including ad nauseam, that I'm like, you know what? I don't really even need to put the One Ring in.
Yeah, I didn't include the One Ring either because, yeah, like you said, Celeste draws you a ton of cards. So it's almost a redundant card in a
Now,
way.
here's something to be said, and I've noticed this when I'm running my list specifically because it's a turbo variant. Sometimes I will run into the scenario where it's like, man, I can trigger Celes a bunch, but I'm like, I only have like one card in hand. So I'm like, okay, I'll discard 1 to draw 2, trigger again, discard 2 to draw 3. And it's like, I kind of felt like I did a bunch of work just to end up with 3 cards in hand. And I'm like, ugh. So maybe some additional card advantage in order to have a bigger payoff from a Celeste trigger. I have considered that. So maybe Archivist, maybe One Ring, or Trouble in Pairs. Man, if you resolve that, watch how many cards you draw in a single fucking cycle. It is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I need to get a copy of that.
It is better than you think.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Oh, what else has he got? He's got a tutor package. He's got interaction. Protection. What is this? Band-Aid of Peace. Cast a spell only during combat. Your opponents can't cast spells this turn. End the combat phase.
Just another cool. Silence. Interesting. Go to that deflecting swat.
What? Oh,
that's awesome.
Nice.
That looks like a dwarf too. So that would be awesome. I want to get that for Magda. It just looks like it would fit. It's $42 though. It kind of sucks. I have other cards to buy that are obscenely expensive. I don't have money for that.
Let's see. Yeah, he's... Goblins have a plan. Yeah. He's got an interesting list. I can see why he runs all these cards. Now back to your list. Unless there was something else you wanted to mention in his...
No, I just wanted to see if there's any additional tech cards. I think that's kind of where we're at. We went over all the copy and sack stuff. We went over the flicker effects, all the outlets and sack outlets like Blasting Station, Viscera Seer, Goblin Bombardment, Reanimate effects. I noticed you had Unearth, which makes more sense because you have a lot of 3 CMC or less creatures. I have a little bit less creatures in my list, so it's not as useful. I was going to mention,
I'm running 23 creatures. You're running 17, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you notice, a good amount would still hit. It would actually hit most of mine, but I'm like, it doesn't hit Celes. So that was like the main reason against it.
I've noticed you opt into putting Celes into your graveyard more often than I would.
I only do it if I'm going to cast Breach and then I can exile her. It's just another card in the graveyard to escape, and then it goes back to the command zone. Or if I have like a Reanimate or something in hand. But I won't do that often. I usually sacrifice her with something that adds mana, like Culling the Weak, and then try and recast her over Reanimating. But if I do have the effect, then absolutely. I like that you have Flame Scroll Celebrant.
Yeah.
It's a nice little stacks piece.
It's essentially a way of... It's a stacks piece and a silence on the other side.
I know. It's another silence effect. It is pretty sweet.
I'm also running Harmonic Prodigy because Celeste is a wizard, so you get 2 Celeste triggers each time.
Oh, nice. And it's only two CMC. It's a 1/3, so it's not going to get hit by Bowmaster. I like that. Since I am... See, dude, there's just so many cards where it's like, I can't include all these, though. Like, you can't include all the stuff from my list that you'd want to, and I can't include all my stuff from your list. It's like, that's why this deck is so cool, and I think is going to make waves in the format, just because it can be built in so many ways. I mean, if you're sitting across the table from a Celes deck, you kind of know what to expect, but those unique tech cards that might come in, those are the things that are going to throw you off. Hey, another tech card, Touch the Spirit Realm.
Yep, I was going to mention it. I think
you can, go ahead, talk about it.
Yeah, so I put this in. It's just another ephemerate, essentially, for your Celes, but it can, like, its main function is for removal and whatever, but the channel ability, you channel it, flicker your Celes, get another Celes trigger. Perfect. And I was like, I just want to do that as many fucking times as possible. So here it is.
I love the uncounterable removal aspect. At least temporarily, you can channel it and it can't be countered. Get rid of Adraneth.
Oh, yeah.
Cast your Celes. It enters again at the end step, and everyone else gets fucked by the Adraneth, but you don't. You got your Celes out. I mean, yeah, there's so many double... I actually included Soul Partition as well, which doesn't... It's just a good... I wanted it as a... because I noticed if you don't have March of the Otherworldly Light in Soul Partition, you really don't have any options for enchantment removal. So it's kind of like in Mardu colors. So I'm like, oh shit, I need to have something like this. So in Soul Partition... Yeah, you might as well. I was kind of like, oh, you could exile your Celes and it'll cost 2 more to cast, which is just the same as the commander tax. So you might as well have it go back to the battlefield or to the command zone, but you do technically get to cast it again, and only you get to have it only cost the extra commander tax, twice instead of going up to 8. So you could cast it 3 times and it still only costs 6 twice. I mean, but it's really good because you can exile like Aristic, so you can go off. You can exile whatever is like you need to get rid of right here, right now.
Yeah.
Same with March of Otherworldly Light. It's artifact, creature, or enchantment, which is nice because, there's not a lot of efficient. I might take out Soul Partition and put in what's the 2 mana. It feels bad because it's kind of like you don't see it in very many cEDH lists. Disenchant, destroy target artifact or enchantment, but there's not very many options in these colors. And something about Soul Partition and them getting to just cast it again, I don't know. I'm on the fence.
Yeah, I think we've talked pretty much about everything in the list, so let's do a quick comparison. And
then we can wrap it up. And hey, as long as we don't talk about this comparison for like 30 minutes, the episode might be closer to an hour. And it won't take me forever to edit it.
There you go. So 25 card difference between our two.
I love that. I love seeing that.
So my list,
a lot of the creatures.
We've got... I'm more of the mid-range package. We've got a lot of different lands. Yeah, you're not running Agent or Draneth Magistrate. Ian, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, there's a reason. I wanted like all proactive stuff. I didn't run any stack stuff. I know it sounds crazy, but I did take it out because I'm like, you know what? I just want to be more proactive. I don't care if people cast their commander. I'm like, I'm trying to cast mine faster.
And then Ian, you're running Ball Pit. Yep. Ian's more of the proactive strategy, as you can see.
A lot of
I don't
turbo
have Voice
cards.
of Victory in my deck, mainly because that card just came out and I didn't edit the deck at all. Yeah. And then cards that are similar. 74. I mean, yeah. These are all essentially... I was about to say auto includes, but yeah, I feel like you could build Celes in so many different ways. Like you were saying, you know, when you were building it, you had like 140 cards you had to go through. I had probably the same. I think it was like 126 cards, and then I was like, all right, time to cut down on the amount of shit that's in this deck.
Oh, I know. There's just so many.
Dihada was one of those cards that
I was going to just
include.
put in Dihada, and since that's the other like Mardu breach option, I was thinking about just putting Dihada and Flicker in the deck. I did have Peer into the Abyss at one point when I was testing out non-ad naus strategies, and I had,
Right.
Hoarding Broodlord, and I'm like, might as well put Peer into the Abyss in the deck. But I felt like the reason the Hoarding Broodlord is so good is because you can reanimate it. You don't have to spend the 8. You almost never will. So I only got to 7 mana a couple times, and if it gets countered, it feels bad. And what you don't want to have to do is have 9 mana and cast your Voice of Victory or something, and then this. Or you cast the Voice of Victory the turn before, and people will usually remove it on the end step before your turn half the time. So it's like, I just never quite got there. It's not that you can't get there. It's just like, it's not needed. So I took it out.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming to our TED Talk.
It did feel like a TED Talk. I think I want everyone to try this out. What other tech cards are there? I mean, we tried to go over everything. I'm sure because of how layered it is, there's bound to be other stuff that we missed. But I'm really excited for this to release. I hope it's not going to cost $85. It usually is severely inflated pre-sale, pre-release, but then it dives down. But I've heard the printing is a little low for this, and I don't know. I might have to snag Celes while I get the chance.
Final Fantasy set, I think, is going to be very expensive, just in general. But, we'll see. Also, fun little fact, Final Fantasy set will be in Standard. So, if all the Standard players, you can run Celes if you want.
Yikes.
Yep.
We'll see how that goes.
But yeah, I think not much else to say about these decks. So we can wrap it up.
Absolutely. Trevor, do the thing. Do the thing you're good at.
Oh, you mean not posting on social media because I work too fucking much?
Yeah. But you can mention it.
Well,
we do have a Twitter.
I could mention.
We do have a Blue Sky.
We do have a Twitter. And we got a Blue Sky. We have an Instagram. We have a TikTok that I don't post on ever because no one watches our shit on TikTok.
We have an empty, useless TikTok.
I might just delete the TikTok because fuck TikTok. It's so annoying.
You can leave it.
I'll leave it for now. Do we have another one? You can listen to if you're watching this on YouTube, we are on Spotify or Apple Podcast or anything else, so you can listen to it there if you want. You can listen to this on the road. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, we have a YouTube channel, so go subscribe to that. We also have a Patreon that also no one goes on. So if you want to give us $1 and support us, you know, there you go. There's an option.
Keep our lights on.
You don't have to.
I've always I'm sorry, but everyone that says that, if you say it, I'm not actually giving you that much shit. I'm giving you a little shit. But when people are like, it helps keep the lights on, like, really? That person donating is keeping your lights on? You're that fucked if someone doesn't donate $1 to you? But I just think that phrase is so funny when someone's like, donate to our Patreon, it helps keep the lights on. If you see me shivering in the next episodes because we can't afford heat in the middle of the winter, and please help us turn on our heater. Like, come on.
I feel like I know what channel you're referencing, and that channel also has like 15 fucking ads in one video that like, or 15 sponsorships in one video. So it's like, you don't really need us to fucking support you that way.
I wasn't thinking of a specific channel.
Oh, well, I have a specific channel in mind that I'm not going to mention because I don't want
I'll cut it out.
I'll cut it. No, Ian, you never cut anything out.
Yeah.